So I just had my dinner. I just streamed earlier, finished the end of Resident Evil 3 Remake. I was in a good mood. I figured, you know what, we've got Resident Evil coming out next week. And all of a sudden, in the Discord, I see breaking news. Sony have decided to shut down Bluepoint Games. I am absolutely shocked about this. I actually can't believe that they are shutting down Bluepoint Games. Demon's Souls is an incredible remake. It's an incredible game. I know they made Shadow of the Colossus. Everyone raves about that game. They made, obviously, the remake for the PS4. And I just feel like, even though they were a studio that worked on remakes, I feel like they are a studio that if they decided to do a new IP or even more remakes, they 100% deliver. But I cannot believe that Sony has decided to make the shocking decision to shut down Bluepoint Games. Is it something to do with that Concord money? Are they losing a hell of a lot of money? I'm in disbelief, to be honest. Sony makes shocking decision to shut down Bluepoint Games, and I just don't understand why. I'm just thinking, like, they made Demon's Souls, that PS5 remake. They've made Shadow of the Colossus a PS4 remake. With no fault of their own, they were working on a live service God of War title, which nobody asked for. I won't be surprised if Bench Studio is going to be shut down, but it's news that genuinely sends us reeling. Sony is reportedly shutting down Bluepoint Games, the Austin-based developer that it acquired back in 2021. And it's crazy is that they acquired them, made them part of the PlayStation Studios family, and then boom, shutting them down. Obviously, they worked on the superb Shadow of the Colossus PS4 remake, which I've never played and do need to play that, and the excellent Demon's Souls PS5 remake, which, if you've never played Demon's Souls, it is an unbelievable game. I've never played the original, but the remake is a beautiful game. It's arguably one of the best looking games on the PlayStation 5, 100%. And what is going on? So they go on to say, naturally, there were high expectations for what the team could go on to produce. According to Bloomberg, journalist Jason Schreier, the whole company's being axed by the powers that be. You know what? I'm fed up because I go back to the Game Awards, not the one just gone, the one before that where you had that award with that damn guy. Oh, look at me saving so many jobs. I don't know how many jobs have been lost in the gaming industry. Some jobs have been lost because these studios have been making terrible games, terrible stories for an audience that doesn't exist. I get that. Some of them do deserve to lose their jobs if they're making stuff like that. But for developers like the ones at Bluepoint Games, you think, they are so talented. They have been producing, even if it's not game after game, they have produced 2 amazing remakes and you're not giving them another chance. And it's just so frustrating because you had like Jim Ryan, probably mainly responsible, pushing all of these amazing studios to make live service games which nobody freaking asked for. And look who's paying the price. Not Jim Ryan getting a nice paycheck when he left. It's the developers now that are out of a job, and arguably they are very, very talented developers. We don't know. Could Bench Studio be next? How do we not know? If they're not working on a Days Gone 2, what is the actual point? They might just say, you know what, we don't need you as a studio, we need to downsize. So it's no secret that they're working on a God of War live service game, but the project was cancelled in early 2025. When Sony started backtracking on its live service push. At the time, we and many others were baffled by the news that the platformer holder had a developer like Bluepoint working on such a thing, and he was clearly very adept at remaking classic games. And that's what I don't understand. When we heard years ago, it felt like when they are working on a new IP or an original IP, I was thinking, wow, they must be doing either a remake of Bloodborne or they're making a totally different game. No, they're making a live service God of War game. Why would anyone want that? It's just so baffling because if you want any remakes done, you might as well just give it to Bluepoint Games because they've got the reputation behind it. So Schreier writes that the studio spent the last year or so pitching new ideas in an attempt to decide the company's immediate future. The closure means that around 70 people will lose their jobs. And this is the statement from a Sony representative. Bluepoint Games is an incredible talented team. Well, that just says it all. Yeah, corporate talk and their technical expertise. Wow, you're making out that they're really good and they shouldn't be shut down. Has delivered exceptional experiences for the PlayStation community. We thank them for their passion, creativity, and craftsmanship. Without question, countless PlayStation fans will be left bemused by this situation. At a glance from the outside looking in, there appears to have been some serious mismanagement at play here from the parent company. 100%. I think everyone is just as shocked as I am. I cannot believe it. Arguably one of their best studios. I prefer them over Naughty Dog, to be honest. I know some people might not agree, but how good Demon Souls were, I was thinking, wow, they can do anything they want. If they want to make an original IP, if they want to continue making remakes. I don't understand, because we've lived in a generation where Sony's been putting out remake after remake. I don't think we're done with remakes, even going into the PlayStation 6. I don't think we are. If we wanted a remake, and let's remember, Sony remade or remastered, shall I say, Horizon Zero Dawn, which didn't actually need remastering personally. They were a studio that could have done anything. And for me, I wouldn't have minded them doing another remake or even an original IP because of just how good Demon Souls were. You just thought, you know what, that Bluepoint Games is one of Sony's beloved studio. I'm just sitting here in shock thinking, what is going on? And I'm just trying to look online to see if there's any other news from like IGN or anything like that, but they've pretty much just put up exactly what I just said. I'm just so shocked. Like Demon Souls, I don't think you understand how good that game is, how amazing that game looked. I completed that game like 2-3 times. It was that good. It was one of the best launch titles that a generation could have in my head. And to think that this studio, Bluepoint, was founded in 2006, so it's been around for 20 years as of this year, and by former Retro Studios employees, and proceeded to work on a number of PlayStation games, including several collections of existing games such as the God of War collection. Obviously didn't actually know that, so they worked on the existing God of War collection, Metal Gear Solid HD collection, and the Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection. So that's why when I said earlier that they could do a remake, if they wanted to do it for the PS5, they are the ones to do it. So it also served as a support studio on ports of games like PlayStation All-Stars, Flower, and Titanfall. Bluepoint's claim to fame was its 2018 remake of Shadow of the Colossus, followed by the remake of, obviously, Demon Souls. It wasn't until after Demon Souls that Sony acquired Bluepoint in 2021. And me personally, this is all Sony's fault. To think that you had an amazing team, you had an amazing studio that's been around for 20 years, or obviously like 14 years or whatever it is until they shut down. And it is your fault that they have wasted so many resources, wasted so much money because you wanted a live service push. You wanted that live service God of War game. You didn't even listen to your community. And obviously that got cancelled. And here we are in this generation, which I personally think it's been an amazing generation. I know a lot of people say we want more games. I get that from Sony's first party studios, and I want that as well. I think I've enjoyed gaming massively, but when you look at Sony's first party studios, they have been non-existent. Naughty Dog, remake, remaster. You can't even say remake for The Last of Us Part 1. I'm still confused about that. You know, we're nearly halfway, if not over halfway through this generation, and Naughty Dog has not put out a game yet. It is crazy to think that. It's crazy to think that Ben's studio, they haven't put out a game yet. Bungie, with all the hiccups that they've had, they're finally bringing out their game Marathon. And it just makes you think, what is going on with Sony's first party studios? Obviously Santa Monica, they're working on the God of War remake, which I can't wait. I'm really enjoying the smaller game that they've done with God of War Sons of Sparta. I'm absolutely loving it. Don't get me wrong, there's problems with that game. You know, a lot of people don't like it, but for me, it's just so great to be playing like a 7 out of 10 game, a smaller game in the God of War sort of lore. It's great to see that Sony is actually pushing those sort of games. So it just makes you think, why have they decided to do this? And why this studio? We don't know if there's going to be any more closures. Obviously, they've closed Firewalk Studios. That deserved it, to be honest, after putting out Concord. What happens to Ben Studio? I feel like Naughty Dog will be all right. I don't know, depending on what happens with Intergalactic. I do think they're going to have a new management after that game's done. I really do. Obviously, you've got Sucker Punch, which, as we know, they've made a lot of money, or they've made more money based off reports from Ghost of Yotei than they have with Ghost of Tsushima. So they look like they're going to be all right. But even then, the founder left after that. I feel like Santa Monica is probably their best studio so far, as well as Insomniac. Probably Insomniac is the ones up there that haven't been pushing a live service game. The one live service game that they were working on, like a multiversal Spider-Man game, that sounded like that could work. That could have worked, but they decided to cancel that. And to be honest, I'd rather they did, so that they could focus on story-driven games. I still can't believe it. It's just such a shame, because we live in a gaming industry now where it's run by corporate companies, it's run by investors, it's run by saving money, making money. I tell you what, that guy from the damn Game Awards, saving all these jobs. How many jobs have been lost in the gaming industry? You know what, let's have a look. So according to this AI review, between 36 and 45,000 jobs have been lost in the video game industry from 2022 to early 2025. So that's early 2025. So arguably there's going to be more because of the layoffs have just only continued. So layoffs continued in 2026 and an additional 7,500. And now obviously you've got even more. So to think there has just been so many layoffs. Maybe the gaming industry needs this to reset, but I really do think it's a mistake. Bluepoint Games, like that, I don't understand why you would do that. I'd rather you shut down another studio. I don't know. I'm trying to think, see what happens with Naughty Dog, but Bench Studio, the only game that I love what they've done, and the only game that they've really done pretty much is Days Gone. And it doesn't look like we're getting a freaking Days Gone 2. I might be wrong. They might be secretly working on that. I don't see what else they can work on that people are going to get excited off. If they're not working on a Days Gone 2, I think it's going to be very hard for them to create a new IP that people are genuinely going to be excited for. But what do you think about this news? I just can't believe it. What is going on with Sony? Like, give them all the remakes. Like, that's what they could have done. Anyway, I haven't got much else to say.